We are traveling westbound on Queen Street. We're trying to figure out how much of an impact the King Street pilot has had on traffic times for those that drive along these stretches. Now, we've heard from a lot of our viewers telling us that the King Street closure, the closure essentially to vehicles, has made their commute times much longer on routes like Adelaide and Richmond and even Queen. So that's what we're doing right now. We're testing it out. But we have learned that streetcar riders, mind you, on King Street are getting a bit of a break because of the pilot.
Yes, for streetcar users, it's pretty clear that the reliability of the streetcar and the time between Bathurst and Jarvis, at least, is really an improved experience. So it's much more pleasant, I would say, to take the streetcar now than it was a couple weeks ago.
And that's because King is essentially closed off to through traffic. Cars have to turn after just one block. Researchers looked at travel times and found that on average, streetcar users were saving 4 to 5 minutes on their ride from Bathurst to Jarvis. That's about a 20% reduction.
Here's the good news. I mean, the good news is, and it's early, and I'm not proclaiming any victories, but that these particular numbers coming out of the U of T, which is totally objective on this, says that it's making a big difference in moving the 65,000 people who do use the King streetcar.
Traffic will, of course, be diverted from King Street because there's no longer any traffic allowed through that portion of the road. It's hard to say exactly how much of that will be diverted onto streets like Adelaide and Richmond until they've had more time to collect data. But you'll also see the positive effect of some people deciding to lose the car and just take the transit instead.
Now, the city is expected to release new data on travel commute times along these routes sometime later this week. But here's what we found out today. So we've already driven westbound on Richmond Street. Now, that drive between Jarvis and Bathurst should typically take about 14 minutes during rush hour, afternoon rush hour. Instead, it took us over 20 minutes. Then we turned around on Queen Street and we headed back into the core from Bathurst to Jarvis. Now, typically, that drive should take 16 minutes. Well, surprising, it took less than 9 minutes. So that's half the time. Maybe some people went on to transit. Maybe some people just aren't driving today. We're not sure, but right now we're going to be heading eastbound on Queen Street. We'll be back with the results of this portion of our test.